Hello, wine lovers. Trophy Wine Hunter. Welcome back to my wine channel. I just wanted to do a short video. Probably going to be pretty controversial, but it's probably have a lot of opinions on wine ratings. So, wine ratings actually are a relatively new phenomenon. You know, it really started with Robert Parker in the 1970s. Prior to that, people did rate wines, but they didn't put a point to it. So, a couple of things that are kind of you need to know about wine ratings. And first of all, let me make it clear wine ratings are really useful, particularly for beginners. When I began drinking wine, I constantly used wine ratings and looked at magazines, learned a lot from those. So I think they're very, very useful when you're beginning because there's so many wines out there. You have no idea what to buy, and it does give you some direction. Having said that, I don't think wine ratings should be an end all and be all. And what I find is that as I got more into wines, that wine ratings meant less and less to me because my personal opinions, I was more confident in my own abilities. And so that's important. One of the things I think it's really important, has nothing to do with wine ratings, is that I really believe that if you want to get into wines, you should take at least at minimum some wine appreciation courses. It's really important to get some basics. It's of course wine is about pleasure and consuming, and it's their entry level. Entry level is not anyone can drink wine, but it really helps you to get at least the basic understanding of grape varietals, regions, how to taste wine. I think at the basic level, it's some education is quite good. So I would really recommend that. Once you kind of get into wines, I find that people do progress. So they progress from the early stages when they are really just looking at ratings and buying based on ratings. And at a certain point, you kind of develop confidence in your own abilities and understand that the rating system is really to help you. It's a marketing tool. Wineries need ratings to sell wine because that's what people look at. They want to know, when they always typically people ask who rated it, how much do they rate it. So it's kind of a marketing tool that we need these days. But you have to know that there are some pitfalls about being too concentrated on ratings. The first thing is that you have to understand the rating system is kind of arbitrary. Every rating system or every person has a different way of rating things. It's all personal. And what I would rate 90 points, someone else could rate 95 points, someone else could rate 85 points. In general, people rate wines at a certain level. But you also have to understand that most rating systems don't start any lower than 80. So, and even if people would rate it lower than 80, no one would publish it. So very rarely do you see a wine having 65 points, right? Generally speaking, most wines are going to be in the 80 and above range and to the higher range because, again, it's a marketing tool. No one wants to give, or no one wants to advertise a low rating. And so that's why you rarely ever see. The second thing you have to understand about ratings is that it is a rating in time. That is when a specific person drinks a specific wine at a certain time. Those ratings actually fluctuate over time. So in my mind, and I've said this I think in other videos, any rating that I do or anyone does that is more than 2 years old, to me, is only worthwhile historically. It's not really representative of the wine anymore. The wine most likely has changed. And so all those ratings, and this is the problem because it's almost impossible for any wine rater to be able to re-rate every wine they drink every 2 years. So there's too many wines out there. And so, people start to use older ratings, but they're not that reflective of. The other thing you have to understand is wine ratings are done in a certain way. So most professional wine ratings, they don't just go out like me and just pick out wines and say, listen, I want to rate. They actually, people have to submit wines to them, right? And submit samples in certain ways. And then they drink them in a kind of controlled environment. They don't do it in a restaurant. They don't do it with friends. And to me, that is a bit artificial, because that is not really the true way that we drink. At least that's not how I drink. I don't drink silently without anyone else. I drink with friends. I drink with other people, and I enjoy doing that. And so that's why when I do my wine night reviews, I think those are the most accurate reviews of those wines, because those are in real settings. I know people get together with wine groups and drink wine and taste wine, but in general, most consumers don't do that. And to me, that's not really that fun a night. It's an educational night. Yes, it's very serious. You learn a lot. But to me, wine is about sharing with other people. And I'd rather just have a good time with other people and enjoy the wine. I find that that is the true representation of a wine. If a wine needs my full attention to show itself off, I don't know how good a wine it is. But if a wine can show itself off and be in my mind the whole night while food is going on, while I'm talking to other people, I think that is a greater compliment to that wine. That even through all that distraction, that wine is still in my mind, and that wine is so great. So what am I trying to say with this? Really, I'm just trying to make the point that, wine ratings are really useful, but they are not an end all and be all. And I used to be totally like this. First thing I did when I had a wine, pull out my phone, figure out what's the point score. High point score, buy it. Low point score, don't buy it. Anytime I go drink with someone, high point score, love the wine. Low point score, I don't like the wine. And so now I think I've evolved into, I just drink. And, if I don't agree with a rating, well, okay, I don't agree. It's kind of just it becomes just okay, I don't agree. Or, yeah, great. It's more like a parlor game. I will always rate a wine and figure out if that's consistent with other rating services. And if it is, great. If it isn't, oh well. And it's really personalized for me. So when I give wine ratings, it's not to sell wine. It's not to tell you what to think. It's more for my own purposes to say, okay, I kind of, in my mind, think this wine is a certain. The other thing I think, the concept that people don't quite understand is like, well, I rate some wines 95 points and I rate some wines 90 points. So obviously I like the wine that's 95 points better than wine that I rate 90 points. That's not true either. Let me explain that. When I at least am rating wines, I'm rating it based on what I think the technical score of that wine is. How good it is in terms of the structure, the notes, whatever it's showing. That has nothing to do with, in my mind, my feeling about a wine. So there's lots of wines that are rated 90 points, which I love, which I prefer to drink. And there may be certain reasons, because there's certain wines I really like and I have an affinity to and I feel for. It could be because I've visited the winery. It could be because I've had conversations with a winemaker. I've had a dinner with them. So it's got a different feel to it. And so to me, people, say, I rated wine 90 points. I don't like the wine. That's not true. That's just a technical score in my mind to put it in an order in terms of for my myself. But that has no reflection of how much I actually like the wine. It's I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly, but wine is not about just the technical and the score. It's about feelings. And there are wines that I really like and I just prefer. And I drink them all the time, and it doesn't matter if they're 90 points or 91 points or 93 points, I still like them. A classic example, Cheval Blanc. I love Cheval Blanc. Whatever the vintage, if it's a off vintage, if it's an 88 point Cheval, I'll still drink it. I just love the feel of the wine. I love the story. I've been to the winery. That's probably why also. I just think it's, I learned so much when I was with winemaker and how to think about wines, and just to, that's where I kind of learned to really accept wines as they are, not to judge them. Just let the wine come to you, and just enjoy it for what it is. Don't make it into something else. So, it doesn't, not every Cheval Blanc that you drink has to be 95 points and above. It could be 88 points and still very elegant and still very quaint and still very drinkable. It might not be something you pair with roast beef, but it might be a lighter meat and it's still exceptional. So I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense. Give me your views on wine ratings and what you think about them. But my point of this whole video is they are useful, particularly for beginners, but don't get too caught up in them. Just get caught up in the wine and enjoying it. And that'll make your life a lot easier. Until next time, happy drinking.